everyone. Welcome to PR News Live. I'm Nicole Schumann, Senior Editor at PR News, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, as usual, just pop them into the comments and we'll get to them throughout the chat. Today, I'd like to welcome Jenan Matari, Director of Accounts at Victory Public Relations. Jenan, I noticed your email signature. If we don't tell them, who will? Would you like to elaborate quickly on that?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for having me. So I guess we all have like really awesome email signatures at VPR. So if you ever get the chance to email with anybody else on the team, they're all different. I chose this one in particular because I really feel like it embodies all of what the PR industry is about, right? We are storytellers. And we really believe that all of the clients at VPR have an incredible story to be told, and we are honored to be the ones to be able to tell that story to the media. And if we don't do it, who else is going to?
That's awesome. I love that. I just noticed that, so I was curious if that was a philosophy you guys follow, or if it was a personal philosophy.
Yeah, I think it's it's definitely a personal philosophy of our CEO Andrea, who has turned it into like a company philosophy. And it just makes sense,
Great. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We get to know Jenan through her entry into the PR News Diversity Awards, which we'll be announcing winners of next week. Very excited. Is it next week?
I think it's 2 weeks from now, the 27th.
Okay, 27th. Sorry, 2 weeks from now. Thank you. You know the date.
Yeah.
Should know this. Because diversity and inclusion continue to be at the forefront of necessary change in our industry. And PR News saw a responsibility to continue to recognize these noteworthy campaigns and communicators effectively navigating the transformed landscape. It's important we see these changes with our own eyes and find inspiration in these campaigns that many would like to emulate. So the Diversity Awards is our own way of recognizing communicators from these multicultural backgrounds, PR pros from all genders, sexual orientations, those with disabilities, races. We are hoping this program can serve as a platform for underrepresented communicators. And by recognizing these talents, we can continue a conversation around how to diversify PR and communications while holding the industry accountable. So good luck to you.
Thank you very much. I'm nominated.
Yes, and we'll learn more about the campaigns that that were entered in a little bit. So first, I'd like to talk about an article we featured in our PR News subscription newsletter. So if you haven't seen it, it is up on the site now, but you have to be a subscriber, but it is a really good article this month, and it was regarding inclusion messaging and marketing. So I'll bring that up here. We interviewed Jenan as part of this story, but also talked about the ways for your organization to get closer to inclusion by recognizing unintentional bias and doing your research. So Jenan, how do you define inclusion marketing, and have clients started expressing an interest in this?
Yeah, for starters, absolutely, there's an interest, and I'm excited to tell you more about that when we get to the campaign portion. But inclusion marketing has to do with recognizing that a company's consumer is not this one-dimensional, only checks off one box type of person. People are multidimensional. They have multiple ethnicities, identities that they subscribe to, and they want to see that represented in the products that they're consuming and the companies that they're supporting. And so it's important for companies to always have a diversity and inclusion mission to make sure that they are reaching these underserved communities and consumers that are they're supporting these brands, but they do feel underrepresented, and they don't feel seen in the products that they're purchasing. And not only is it like a feel good type of mission to be inclusive, but it's also good for business at the end of the day, because people love, like I said, people love to be seen. They love to feel included, and it only garners more support for the company and the products that you're selling or what you're offering to the consumer. And so it's all around just always a good thing to have included in your company, some type of inclusive marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people, in the PR world, we have diversity, you have people's best interests at heart. But, in the article, it was great to learn more about, unintentional bias and doing research. And, you know, you, you might come from a background where you don't understand the background that you're supposed to be promoting. And that happens more often than not.
Yeah.
So the more diverse voices you can get in a room is always great. And if you don't have those voices in the room, go out and talk to people and do your research. And, I think better campaigns will be able to come out because of it. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely important to always also make an effort to have a diverse internal team, because that is the only way, a lot of when people get into trouble when it comes to inclusion efforts, it's usually because it's not authentic, and it's obvious that it's not authentic, and they didn't have somebody on the team that was a part of whatever community they're trying to target. So that authenticity is key to a successful campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I'd like to roll this into, chatting about your work and how you've been trying to make a difference in the diversity and inclusion space. One of the things that I read was that research is showing that, Muslim consumer market is worth $26 trillion.
Yeah.
$26 trillion annually. And, as a Muslim woman yourself, you saw a real opportunity to not only educate your colleagues about the celebrations and traditions, but also to bring these ideas to brands as well. So can you explain how you introduced this at your agency?
Yeah, to actually give our agency the credit that it deserves, they were very open to learning about my religious and cultural background from the very start. It was something that our CEO had taken an interest in when it came time to hiring for my position. I have experience in the media on a personal level. I started a blog for Muslim and minority women that became one of the fastest growing platforms for women in that category in the country. And through that, I was able to, generate a lot of awesome media coverage for myself and for our platform and our writers. And while I had included that as something just like an extra aside about myself on my resume, our CEO actually really took to that and saw it as a great thing that I have this diverse background that also happened to give me this like natural intuition for media, which she appreciated and felt like it would only benefit the company. And so she right off the bat saw that from the very beginning. It wasn't really anything that I needed to like try to introduce to the team or, put some feelers out there and see if they were open to the idea. Like I came into this job full on, like they knew who I was and what I stood for, and they were all about it.
And I know there was a point where you wanted to teach your fellow employees more about Ramadan.
Yes.
Is going on right now, correct?
Yep. Yeah. So Ramadan started yesterday. Currently fasting on day 2, and it's okay so far. And in an effort to, just get my colleagues and our media friends to understand more of what the fasting experience is like for Muslims throughout these 30 days, our agency and our clients were really on board with this idea of starting a one-day Ramadan challenge for, non-Muslim colleagues in the industry and in the media industry to experience fasting for one day. And just, go into the experience, hoping to come out of it with an understanding of somebody who you might not have daily interaction with, or who you do have daily interaction with, but you don't necessarily understand where they were coming from or what they were experiencing. Because a lot of Muslims are like silently fasting in the workspace. It's not something that we advertise or we make sure that it's nothing that interferes with our job productivity. And so we don't like to, put out this disclaimer that, hey, we're fasting today and I don't have caffeine in my system. So if at 3 p.m. you see me dozing off on a call, just bear with me. So this was a way to really get everybody to just experience it on a personal level.
Can you now, I'm curious, can you explain what a day of fasting is like?
Yeah. So there are 2 meals that are important during Ramadan. The first one is called suhoor, and that's the early morning meal before sunrise. It's usually, I think it ends around 4 a.m. So you can eat basically from the time you break your fast at night, which today is like around 7:30, 7:40 for that 4 a.m. deadline. And so a lot of people get up early, like in the middle of the night, to eat breakfast so that they kind of nourish themselves for the day, and then go back to sleep. And you wake up, and the moment that the sun is up and there's daylight, you are starting your fast, which means you're abstaining from all food, beverages. So I know a popular internet meme these days is not even water. So we're also can't drink water.
No one
Yeah, there you go. Not even water. And yeah, and in addition to the food and beverage aspect, you're also supposed to abstain from things like gossiping, lying, cursing, anything that's like a vice of yours. Alcohol is banned outside of Ramadan in general in Islam. So any like mind-altering substances are also, you're supposed to refrain from using them throughout the month. And it's really just supposed to be a time where you humble yourself and ground yourself in your spirituality. Charity is really, pushed, and the word is escaping my brain because I'm going to blame it on fasting, but charity is obligatory in Islam. And during Ramadan, it's really encouraged to go out and volunteer during the day. If you help, underserved communities, to make donations and just do good and work on yourself and being a good person. So
that's amazing. And I give you a lot of credit because number one, I am not a morning person. And I'm always hungry. So
yeah, I'm the same. So yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I'd like to say that you get used to it, but I don't know if that's just something that we all say to like get ourselves through it. But today is definitely easier than yesterday.
That's cool. Well, that's good. And, it's nice to be able to work, with a diverse environment like that, because then you do get to learn about these sorts of things and understand more about your colleagues and where they might be coming from. So that's a great thing. And this is kind of led into your work. I know you worked on a clever campaign recently with Julie, who's a California date company.
Yeah.
Dates as in the dates of fruit, right?
Yep, the fruit.
I should know these things. And Bare Organics superfoods in respect to Ramadan.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about this campaign and how it's been received?
Yeah. So that was the one-day Ramadan challenge that I had mentioned. We, had gotten together with one of our clients, Bare Organics, who didn't have anything lined up for the month of Ramadan, but was very, very open to learning about it and learning about how they can, support the community and call more attention to it in mainstream media. And so we had put together, we went together through their list of product offerings and pulled some products that we felt were really beneficial for people to be using during Ramadan. Like, they offer a line of superfoods. Chia Seeds is a superfood that is very commonly used for that morning meal that I had mentioned. Because think of them as like a time-released water capsule. They expand in your body over time, so they essentially keep you from feeling hunger, and they slowly release water, so it keeps you hydrated throughout the day. So that was one of the items that we had included in our box for the one-day Ramadan challenge that was being sent to non-Muslim media members. And I also want to note that it's important to know that they also sent it to Muslim influencers, which was really great because they wanted to make sure that, their consumer base felt supported. And so, there were a couple of other products for non-Muslim members. We included a brochure that gave them a little synopsis about what Ramadan was, the important meals. They have my phone number, my email. So if anybody needs help during the day or, if they just need a little bit of extra support to get them through the day, because like I said, that first day of fasting is really the hardest of all 30. And so if you're only doing one day, that's going to be your only and your hardest day. And so we want to make sure that everybody feels supported throughout the experience. And then with when it came time for supplying them with something for the breakfast meal, which is actually called iftar, and that happens after the sun goes down. Our client Julie's had already had this incredible campaign that they were running internally that they had asked us to jump in on, and they created a Ramadan branded box, which I think was really absolutely incredible. It makes them one of the first, if not the first, non-Muslim owned CPG brand to actually make a seasonal product offered to the Muslim community, which is really, really cool. And it's awesome to be a part of. And, you know, I was honored personally when they reached out to us to help them lead this campaign.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, it's something to be said too for brands that are looking to, you know, get into, you know, work with these other demographics and, you know, to come to you guys and, you know, ask for that knowledge and that help, I think is really responsible of the brand. And dates are a traditional food, correct?
Yep. Yeah. They're, you know, they're grown all over the world, but they're very traditional in Muslim culture, especially during Ramadan. And that was actually something that led Julie's to creating this box. They had noticed every year that, and I think everybody in the date industry understands that this is the case. And there are a number of press releases that you can read about it. But date sales actually always skyrocket every year during Ramadan. And so to know that Julie's is like the only company that actually took that acknowledgement a step further and created a product that would be like a feel-good thing for Muslim consumers to see on the shelf was really special. And I think that that's, you know, it's a testament to their internal team, which is really diverse. And in the creation of the box, you know, they worked with Muslim graphic designers and people within the community that they had as personal friends to make sure that the language was appropriate, that the artwork was appropriate. And they, you know, they really covered all of their bases when it came to what we were talking about before, when it comes to being authentic and making sure that your team, if you're diverse, but not in the area that you need to be for a specific campaign, you go out and you find those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, maybe other brands will follow suit now that, you know, they've seen the success of the campaign overall. Oh, and you just got a little shout out here.
Oh,
if I can bring this up.
Cool.
This is nice.
Oh, how awesome.
Very nice.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Shah.
And I know you guys have been doing, you know, some other efforts too in terms of inclusion marketing. And what are some other, you know, examples that you've worked on recently that people might be interested to hear about?
Yeah. So one thing that comes to mind most recently, our client Motherly, which is already an incredible brand on its own. You know, it's the destination for all things that the modern mom needs. They every year run a state of motherhood survey where it's like the largest comprehensive survey on the state of motherhood in, I believe it's North America. And, you know, in an effort to be more inclusive, they had actually asked me if I could be a part of their team that was creating the basis of the survey and the framework and the questions to make sure that it was reaching a bunch of different communities. And one of the things that was really important to me to see on the survey was it had to do with the ethnicity section of the survey. You know, in all my years of existing, essentially, I've never been able to check off a box that properly writes out my identity, or that, you know, subscribes to my identity. And I brought that to Motherly and told them that, hey, you know, it would be really awesome if you guys could include a box for Middle Eastern and North African mothers. The proper term, I think, is called MENA now. It was something that, you know, we were fighting for on the US Census that didn't get passed in time. And it's something that people want, and we want to feel represented, because this lack of an identity box, while it seems silly to some people, it actually means that you have no representation and there's essentially no data on your community. And so if this survey were to be put out without a box like that, it would have just resulted again in, you know, mothers from that region not having any data that would help them and find proper ways for them to be supported like the other mothers that were included in the survey. And they immediately took to that as well. They were open to all of it. They included the box. They also took the suggestion of, allowing mothers to check off more than one ethnicity, which was cool. I am both Arab and Latina, so it was cool to, like, literally, this was the first time ever that I've been able to check off my full identity. And it was a really awesome experience. And I was crying and I took a screenshot and it was cool.
That's great. I mean, that's the thing, like, so many people just think of, diversity in terms of, the messaging and the images you're putting out there in an ad or, in a video or this and that. But there's, like you said, just looking at a survey and how it represents your audience or your readership. I mean, that's another way to think outside the box. And it shouldn't even be thinking outside of the box anymore, right? I mean, it should just be something that's considered and included when you're trying to get to know who your audience is. So yeah, that's great. And hopefully that gives some people ideas that are watching this.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you've been doing this and hopefully other people are getting some ideas as well. But, what do you really hope communicators can learn from these examples?
I guess my main hope is that they can see how many ways it's possible to be inclusive and diverse. I know that everybody thinks that it's a really complicated thing to do, or that you need to have a certain demographic of people to be diverse or to consider yourself an inclusive company. But Julie's was the perfect example. They, not to my knowledge, I'm not sure that they have anybody who's Muslim on their team, but they recognized, the community causing an uptick in their sales, and they saw an opportunity to market to them, both as like a thank you and for, good business. And they didn't have anyone internally, so they reached out to their outside contacts. And it just takes a little bit of effort. It's not as much effort as people think it is to be inclusive and diverse. So, and I hope that these campaigns, can be proof of that. And in terms of what Bare Organics did, again, to my knowledge, I haven't spoken with anybody on their team who's Muslim. They didn't have anything like Julie's set up in place, but they also they were open to the idea of expanding, their audience base and their consumer. And they already had these wonderful products that could be used. And it just took a little bit of creativity and, recognizing the importance of being diverse and inclusive. And we made a great campaign out of it.
Well, that's great. I've learned a lot today. I did not know that about chia seeds before. I thought they were just some trendy food that people.
Yeah, no, it's really good for you.
They're very useful.
Tiny but mighty.
I will keep that in mind when I'm trying to stay full for something. No, but thank you so much. We're so glad to have you on and to hear all this. And it seems like our audience really appreciate it as well. So
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and thank you for, highlighting our agency and the campaigns that we're running and our clients. It's been awesome to see.
Absolutely. Sounds like you guys are doing a lot of good work, and I think we'll be seeing more of you in the future. Yes. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for anyone watching, if you're curious to learn more about creative inclusive campaigns such as these, there's still time to register for our first Social Impact Summit, which will be held on April 27th before the Diversity Awards. I'll post the link in the comments, but there are some really great speakers and examples of real work being done to impact communities in terms of diversity, equality, and inclusion. So I've seen the agenda. You really don't want to miss it. It's pretty great. And I'll make sure I post that in there for you guys. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another great LinkedIn Live. See you then, and stay well.
Bye.